Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents on why they like being in Flagler County. So today, I'm super excited to have my guest, Diane Campbell, with me here today. Thank you so much, Diane, for taking a few minutes out of your day to spend it with me.
Macy, I'm honored to be here, and thanks for having us today.
Of course. Well, you do some really cool stuff. So I'll let you explain a little bit what you do. But when Diane and I know each other through the local Palm Coast BNI, I've had a few amazing BNI people on today. So I hope every today and just in general on the podcast. So hopefully, if you've seen any other episodes, it's just a great group of people who want to help each other, who have amazing businesses, and who have a lot of passion for their business, which I think is very important when you're doing this for yourself. So, Dan, you were kind of briefly sharing before we started recording on kind of how you came to Flagler. So I'd love for you to share a little bit on how did you find Flagler and how have you liked being here?
Well, it's an interesting story for me. I was born in New Jersey, spent 30 years there, and towards the end of that 30 years, my brother moved down to Palm Coast. So that was
Oh,
like, I don't know, 1987, 89,
wow.
kind of ish. So he's lived here. We vacationed here all this time. And but I chose to go to Georgia. My husband and I were married in 1989. We moved to Georgia. That's where the jobs were. We raised our family there. And when it came time to consider our next move, our semi-retirement place to be, it we looked at 20 or so different places that appealed to us. And all the recipe for what we wanted in terms of leisure, an anchor somewhere, um, and the weather that we liked. It ultimately ended up being Palm Coast, which was kind of a no-brainer. So we selected a property right across the street from my younger brother, and we began to build. And so we moved in March 11th of 2023.
Wow, that's awesome. And so you've been here not that long.
Not that long, but for 30 years visiting on and off.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's a kind of a community that we're comfortable with. We
Mhm.
know our way around.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure
even
you've
though we
just
looked at,
seen it transform.
yes, even though we've looked everywhere to see if that was another perfect fit, it ended up being like a no-brainer to come here.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I mean, I feel like you said 89 years?
1980 87, he
87.
yeah,
I think
he moved here.
that's like I think the oldest person like the oldest resident that I've heard via my podcast. I know there are a
Yes.
few people who grew up, but we're kind of in our 20s.
Yeah, and an extension of that, was soon after my brother moved here, my father and parents moved here, and then my younger brother moved here. So
Mm.
there's a large family influence here,
Oh
and
yeah.
both of them have lived and worked in Palm Coast. And my dad, before he passed, volunteered at the fire department,
Oh wow.
reviewing pre-fire plans and things of that nature.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. So it definitely helped with that no-brainer pick
Oh
when you're looking
yes,
at those other places. You can't
yeah.
really beat family sometimes. Um, well, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your business, and what inspired you to open, because it's really cool. I always love when you do, if anyone's not familiar with BNI, you get 40 seconds every week to have a little talk about what is going on in your business and what's a good connection and stuff like that. And you always have a great one. I always very much look forward to having you or your substitute come in as well.
Yes. Well, the name of the business is Boney Booties Beach Rentals. Now, this was kind of something that was born before I ever moved here. And it was my older brother
Mhm.
who started the business. And he said, I'm going to do this. And he said to me, well, and I said, are you interested in doing that? I said, I might be. I said, I don't want to. What we do is we put beach chairs, umbrellas, and tables and equipment onto the beach for vacationers and people who come to Palm Coast and Flagler Beach. So he came to my house in Atlanta, and we're trying to name the company. And I said, you have no Booty in the back. And we liked the pirate theme. And so I said, do we really go there? Do we really call it Boney Booties Beach Rentals? Because we wanted something fun. We
Yeah.
want something fun that people would, like, what is that? And bring a smile to somebody's face. So we did. We decided to name it Boney Booties Beach Rentals. And as you can see, it has a pirate theme. And so people can relate to that in this area. And so we named that, and I was still in Atlanta. My brother Brian was here in Flagler Beach, and he was supposed to get the chairs onto the beach. And had a 3-year plan. I'll be there in 3 years, but I'm going to do the marketing and everything else from Atlanta. So we kind of abbreviated our move time because the economy and the housing situation in Atlanta was so robust and healthy. We were advised to sell our house sooner rather than later. So we kind of put that on the fast lane, listed our house, and moved to Jacksonville, where our daughter was, and we lived with them for, I don't know, about 8 months or so while we built a house here in Palm Coast. So in all that time, I was driving back and forth from Jacksonville to Palm Coast. And then unfortunately, my brother became ill.
Mm.
So a lot of my time was spent driving down here, putting the chairs on the beach myself at 8 in the morning, hanging
Oh,
around, visiting him in the hospital. He eventually passed
I'm sorry to
last
hear.
March 24th of 2023. And I had to really do some introspective thinking. And, I remember sitting across from the columbarium there where he is interred. I said, bro, what do you want me to do with this now? I said, do you want me to continue with it? Do you want me to, I just didn't know what to do. So, by the end of that time, and I spent there kind of thinking and talking to him virtually or wherever he, up in heaven. I said, you know what? I think I'm gonna rock this thing. And that was last year. And so then I had already been part of BNI, so I shifted my membership from Orlando at the time, where I was working with another company, over to Palm Coast. And like, if any entity is going to get me where I need to go, it's going to be BNI. So we closed on our house March 11th of last year. We've been here almost a year now, not quite a year, but I feel firmly planted, and there's been a lot of opportunities for Boney Booties Beach Rentals to grow and thrive. We have that hotel moving in at down in Flagler Beach, which is exciting. I have
Mm-hmm.
taken on another partner who is the store is not 50 yards from the hotel down there. So I feel really hopeful for the future of the business.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think that was really, really inspiring to hear that it was something that you still wanted to stick with, and it was something that those are hard conversations to have, especially, with it. It's not the same thing, but to almost 3 years ago, my grandma had passed, and it's like it was this really big. I didn't realize that grief was going to hit me, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's hard to make those decisions and those moments where you're like, I have to keep going. It's hard, it's heavy, but I can see that you have a lot of passion for it, and I know I can tell you know what you're doing, and like you said, there's a lot of amazing opportunities on the horizon that you're
Yeah.
already starting with, and it's going to just continue to grow. So I'm really happy to hear all of that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I had to ask him that question. What would you do? I
Right.
know what my brother would do. He would keep going. I said, all right, let's do this thing and see how it goes. And, you know, um, I have every confidence that with the team that we're part of, doing, network related things,
Yeah.
they help us, we help them, that is going to get there. And I'm seeing signs that it's going to be a great season for us at Boney Booties.
That's beautiful. I love to hear that. Well, I kind of mentioned that I have this question where I ask people, like, what would you recommend to get more active in the community? But I think I'd like to shift it just a little bit because I know you'd mentioned that, if any place was going to get you to where you wanted to be, it was going to be a BNI. What advice would you have for maybe new people to BNI or new people to networking on how they can really bring value to that group so that they're able to get the value that they deserve, if that makes sense?
Perfect sense. I think one of the first things that we did, my husband and I did when we got into the community, even though we're familiar with how to get around and stuff, we didn't really know people
Sure.
except our family. So we volunteered. We work volunteer in the Seawolf Privateers,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that is the gentleman that you see who subs for me.
Oh,
He's the founder of that 501c3. I said, well, that's going to give us a chance to work side by side with people that we don't know, that we can get to know, and it's one foot in the door. The other thing is, if you're a business, you have to be out networking. I've
mm,
done this in business pretty much my whole life, not this particular one, but other ones in Atlanta. But you have to be out networking. If you're not out there, then you're not giving another person a chance to know you and to communicate what you do to other people.
right.
So it's a powerful thing. If you open a business and expect them to come to you, you're sadly mistaken and you're going to be disappointed.
Yes.
So that's my advice is get involved in a networking group.
Right.
There's a rule of thumb that says, one closed category networking, one open category networking could be a chamber, and then one other one. In my case, it's the Professional Women of Flagler County. So that's three. And between all of those, I think we're going to be successful. What I find about this community, I don't know if you agree with this. I think this community of Palm Coast and Flagler Beach is very small business oriented.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who have different businesses everywhere, and the larger employers, I can think of, medical and educational that are in this county. The rest are small businesses
Right.
or local franchises or things of that nature. But that's what I feel. I mean, I've seen that a lot of businesses. That's why our group has grown so much.
Right. Yeah,
So
I mean, I completely agree. That's a really big part of why I had started this podcast, is I've done podcasts in the past and I had different themes for them. But when I noticed the amount of small businesses and the amount of small passionate businesses too, I think
yeah.
it's easy, like you said, to just kind of open your doors and be like, yeah, I hope people comes in. But the people who want to be active in the community, who want to give into the community and
Hmm.
then want to service so it becomes a win-win situation for everyone. I noticed that was really big here, and I was like, I think this is a great idea to just talk to more people about it this way. And I've been really happy with the results of people, like I said, small, passionate businesses just wanting to come on and share their story, share what they're passionate about.
Exactly. And I'd much rather support a small business
Oh yeah.
with my goods and services that I need than a big box retailer. So I'm all
Yeah.
about that.
That's awesome. Well, Diane, thank you so much for coming on and sharing a few minutes of your time. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It was very moving, very inspiring for me as someone who went through, again, not the same, but I can relate to those themes that you were mentioning. So I think that was really awesome that you were able to share that. So if anyone wants to learn a little bit more about what you do or how they can get in contact with you, what's the best way that they can reach out?
Well, they can reach out to through the website at www.bonybootiesbeachrentals. I know you'll probably post that there.com, or they can call or email Diane at bonybbr.com. And the phone number is 386-873-8669.
Perfect. I'll make sure I have all of those, like you said, in the description so people can click and copy and paste a little bit easier. Diane, again, thank you so much for your time and thank you to everyone listening. I really appreciate it and I'll see you all next time.
Very good. Thank you, Macy.